Hey guys, what's going on? This is Grog, playing some Overwatch. Actually, today I am going to be playing with their workshop. So, for those of you that don't know how this works, I never played with the game browser before. I don't know, it just never interested me. But I do find programming um, fun. I do it for work. I also enjoy coming up with new stuff. So the way that you get into this is the old game browser, and you're gonna hit create. And I never used this before, like I said, but if you come into settings, down here we have a button called workshop. So these are other things that broader terms that you can say. So for like the lobby, how many people on the team, these are things that you could control before. Modes, you want to be able to play all of them, or maybe you just want capture the flag. You can pick these broad terms, which heroes are allowed to be used, which ones aren't. You can tell them, set up a roster, what maps you want to be able to play. If you come in here in presets, actually there's some workshop examples. I haven't gone through these, but I bet they would be very useful. And I'll probably go through that at some point. But I had this idea of something that I wanted to create, and I actually created it, and I played a game, and then I exited the game and didn't realize I had to save it first. Because I was going to just bring you guys in and show you what I did, but I guess we're going to try to recreate it. And while it's still fresh in my mind, I'm going to try to do it again. So the way that this works is you're essentially adding rules. And so if we hit a rule here, it's going to give us an event. And the event is what's going to trigger the looking at any conditions we give it, and if those conditions are met, if there are any, then what actions are going to be taken. So this event will trigger either to look at this if there are some, and if it meets it or there aren't any, then it will perform whatever action we give it. And we can set up multiple rules, but let's just start off with the first one. So this first rule is for me. So let me give you an idea of what I want to have happen in my game mode. I thought it would be fun that when you kill someone, that they would drop their ult charge, essentially, right? So they keep it. So, and that may be something that I change in the future. Um, this idea came from me playing Mystery Heroes, which I do every week for arcade for the 3 extra loot boxes, and when you die, you lose your ult. And I'm like, man, that sucks. I wish there was a way to build up ult quicker, / I wish it wasn't wasted when you die. And I'm like, that'd be cool if when you killed someone, it dropped their ult and you could pick it up. So that's where this all came from. And I'm sure I'm going to tweak this later. This is just kind of me figuring it out today. I've never used this before today. I had it up and working, like I said, and then I didn't save. I didn't know you had to save. I thought it automatically saved. So it's a learning process for me. So the first thing that I want to say is I'm changing this event. So ongoing global, if you're familiar at all with programming, this will be something that happens all the time. So it's essentially a loop of it's always looking for these conditions to be met. And if there are no conditions, then it will always be performing this action. So that's not what I want first. I want player died. So this is my event. My event is when someone dies, I want something to happen. So it's team is you can pick which team this applies to. We want it to be when anyone dies on either team. So I'm going to leave the team and the players. So if you look, we can switch to player 1. We can switch the slot or the type of player. And I may get into something like that later. But for now, we're going to keep it everyone. So what are the conditions for this? So if they die, that's really all we care about, right? We don't care about how they died or where they died. All we care about is that person died. So we're going to leave this conditions blank. So the action we want to have taken is we want to drop their ult, and we'll get into how that happens in a minute. But just in preparing, it wasn't this straightforward when I first did it, but this is kind of how I figured out how to do it. So the two things that I need to know about when that player died is where they died and how much ult they had when they died. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a variable, and you have, so a variable is a placeholder to store information, right? And we just call it something. They give us these pre-generated variables A through Z, so you can have up to 26 different global variables. I'm going to set this one. It's going to be a number. You can it can be a lot of different things. You can set it with, like I said, lots of different values. But I'm going to make this one a number, and I'm going to make it 1. And just, nope, not 10, 1. Okay. And the reason I'm setting this to 1 is because I'm going to then adjust that value with and I may not need to do this. This is just kind of how I figured it out. I couldn't find, and maybe if I come in here, if we come into this, we could just probably actually say ultimate charge percentage, and the person that died would be that, and we could leave it at that. Well, let's just leave it at that. So this, what I did before was I set it to 1, and then I multiplied the ultimate charge percentage. But after playing around with this a little bit more, I figured we didn't need to do that. So we have what their ult was when they died, and then we also need to add a second global variable because we need to know where they died. So we're going to come into here, and instead of a number, we want a position. Oops, position. So position of, and it's not like I have any training on this, so there are probably a million better ways. But what I do you just kind of go through the list, right? So I want a position, and you can type it in to see, is there anything in position, just like I did. But just kind of going through this list of options, right? And that's how I figured out that I want position of, and then event player. So event player is, like it says, the player executing this rule. And so what that means is we have someone that died, right? This is the event. Well, who died? And that's going to be event player. And so when this happens, this event, a player dies, we want the ultimate charge of event player, which is the person that died, and the position of event player, which is the person that died. So now we have those two numbers. So what are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to add an effect, right? And like I said, this is just for me messing around, going through, figuring out. So we're going to create an effect after we have those two numbers, and it's going to be visible to everyone. We want anyone to be able to pick this ult charge up. It doesn't have to be the person that killed them. It can be anyone. And if you die accidentally, maybe you can get back to your ult and double your ult. And I don't know. I might set their ult to 0. We'll have to see. Okay. I was playing around with it before, and I was getting ult like left and right. It was nuts. Okay. So type. We want an orb. It could be any of these things, really. I mean, oh, that's where the sound is. Oh. Okay. Because I couldn't figure out how to do the sound, and I didn't scroll down here far enough. And maybe we'll do a beacon. I don't know. Let's just mess around with it. So let's just pick an orb first. The color, I put yellow because that's what your ult is. Event player. So where do we want this to position? Well, technically we do want it at the event player, but I'm going to put it, since we made that global variable, and like I said, I'm not a professional at this. It could be redundant, but this is just how I got it to work. So we're going to set remember variable B of our global variables was the player's position when they died. And you know what? I take that back. I could set this to, instead of global variable B, I could set this to event player, position of event player, and that won't mess with anything because that's where we want it to happen, is where they died. but I still need that later. So when someone comes over it, we need to have that stored in a global variable because we can't use it event player for another player because their position of will be different than the position of the player that died. So we want it to be a radius of 1. You know, it's not too big, not too small, and we're not reevaluating, but we're going to leave that as is. So we're going to click OK. So now we have when we die, and we're going to test this, and we're going to save. So this rule, we're going to name it rule 1. We're going to say create an orb when a player dies with ult charge percentage. Okay, so let's come back here and we're going to save, and we're going to save this as I don't know, ult drop. So and then if I come into presets, I'm assuming, yeah, that's one of my presets. So perfect. So let's play this. And the way you play it is we come into here. So I just hit back. So if we're back in here in settings, I just hit back down there. We don't need anyone right now. I can kill myself in the game. So I'm just going to hit start. It's going to put us in the game.
Now arriving at Phoenix.
I don't want other people in here right now. We're just testing it out to make sure it works. Pick someone that you can kill yourself with, like Fair or Soldier or Zarya. So when I kill myself right now, I should drop an orb. And boom, you saw it right there. So once we come around, see, there's a yellow orb right where I died. Now when I come out, it's see, it's gone. Maybe that's why I set the global variable and set it to that, because it disappeared. So we can come in here to Workshop Editor, and what this will let us do is mess with our rules, but we still have to exit the game and come back in. So let's change this. Instead of event player, we're going to put this to a global variable, and maybe that's why I did it. Global variable B was storing our position. So let's hit OK and back, and so you'll see that in the text box, custom match setting update will take effect during next match. So that means we have to restart. So if you go to the lobby and just hit restart match, that's what we want to do. Alright.
Now entering.
Now this time, just hit escape to get out of that. You got to come out. In case you don't know, you can't hurt yourself in here. So that's why I have to leave this yellow area where I can hurt myself. Alright, now we're going to drop a yellow orb. And hopefully it'll be there when we res. Or spawn, actually.
Back in action.
Boom, there it is. So now it's on the ground. That's something I want to fix. I don't like how it's on the ground. It doesn't do anything because we haven't assigned anything to it yet, but it's there. And so sweet. That's what we wanted. So we're going to go to show lobby. Back to lobby because we don't want to be in there. And then we're going to go to settings and go back to workshop. Okay, so now we're going to add a rule because we need something to happen when well, when what? When someone goes over that orb, we want them to get whatever the ult charge is in that orb. So the way that we're going to do that is so we're going to call this gather orb for bonus ult charge. Okay. So this event, do we want this to be able to be triggered or look for this always? And the answer is yes. We want at any time anyone in the game to be able to trigger this event. So it has to be ongoing. It can't be when someone dies because that it will only happen that second someone dies, or any of these. So it has to be ongoing, but we don't want it to be global. We want it to be each player because this is something that we're going to look for each player is going to look for, right? So, and we want any player to be able to do it on any team. So, we have the global versus players. So, there's just different things that events that trigger. A global event would be something that happens inside the game, whereas a player event would be something that happens to that player, right? And it's going to be different for each player, whereas a global event will be the same for every player in the game will experience that global event, whereas each player experiences their own subset of events that don't happen necessarily to every other player. So that's what we want. We want global, or we want each player. This one we are going to need conditions, right? So the conditions that we're looking for are where the person is. Did they touch the orb? So that's the first thing we want to look at. So we're going to change this to position of event player. So our condition is the position of the person that we're looking at equal to, but we're not going to say equal to because we don't want them to have to be right on it. We want it to be less than or equal to our global variable b. No, that's not right. See, now I'm struggling to remember what I did. So we want to know if they are, if the position of the event player is less than or equal to global variable b. It can't be less than or equal to. Okay, that's right. We don't want position. We want distance of, or distance between. Distance between. There we go. This is what I did. So, the position of and the actual position, they would have to match up perfectly. And keep in mind, that's a three-dimensional vector, right? It's not just like a point. Well, it is a point, but it's not like an x and a y. I mean, we have to take into account the z, and it would have to be perfect, and we don't want that. We want to have some fudge factor in there. So we want the distance between, and we're going to say the position. Here's where we go into the position of. So position of event player. So that's the starting position where, and actually, well, it doesn't matter. Distance between. No, we're going to do, because I want it to be, and I don't know if it's absolute value or not, but we're going to say to the global variable b, and the end position is going to be our player, I think. I don't know. We'll mess around. If I'm wrong, we can switch it. Position of event player is less than or equal to, and here we want a value. We want a number. And I'm assuming this is meters. Does it say? It doesn't. It doesn't say. I'm assuming it's meters, and so I put 1, and that seemed to be a good value before. So what we're saying here is the person that we're looking at, and this is going to happen for each individual player. It's going to constantly be looking where they are, and if they get within 1 meter of this global position or global variable with position B, which is where our person died, if they get within 1 meter of that, they're going to trigger this event. Now, I know from experience, because I did some testing before, that actually the person that dies will trigger this event themselves. And so we have to add another condition here. And we want to say if is alive, I believe. So let's say is alive. Here we go. So event player, so if event player is alive equals true, then trigger this event. And so we're going to actually put that above ones because it's going to do this one first and then this one. So we just want to rule it out right away if they're dead. So if they're alive, then we'll go on to this one. If they're in that position, then we're going to take care of this action. So we have to meet both of these in this order. Not that it matters, like if you did this first and it's true, and then you get to this one, it's false. It's just gonna, it'll skip. But you're saving yourself from having to look at it if they're dead, because we only care if they're alive. So, um, the next thing is we have to say what we want to have happen, right? So the first thing that we want to have happen is give them their ult charge. And so the way we do that is we're going to say set ultimate charge, and then we want it to happen on the player, right? The player that is causing this event to happen, the one that's closest, or the one that's within 1 meter. And we're going to add the number. So the number that we want to add is their current ult charge, so ultimate charge percentage of event player, and we want to add whatever the percentage was before, so or the percentage that they picked up, which is in global variable A. So what we're saying here is we're setting the ultimate charge of the person that triggers this event, the one that gathers the orb. And what we want to do is add their current charge with the charge that the person had when they died. So we're going to hit OK. So that person will now pick up their ult. But if the person picks it up, there's nothing stopping them from just picking it up over and over and over again, because the orb isn't disappearing right now. The orb is staying there. And so what we need to do is we need to reset those global variables. And this gets into a larger problem of not just, well, so if two people die, what is the value of these orbs? And that's a good question, and we'll have to dive in deeper on a different day. We're just kind of getting the basics of this fleshed out, but essentially what we're saying is, we have two variables, and they will change when someone dies or when someone picks it up. So if someone dies and then someone immediately after dies, like what happens to the orb? Which ult do we get? Are there going to be multiple orbs? Can you pick up multiple? So right now, what's going to happen is if someone dies, we're going to drop an orb. If someone dies right after that, before the first orb is dropped or picked up, then it's going to disappear, and we're going to have a second orb with whatever that person's charge was. And we can change that later. Maybe. Let's just get this basic one working. So we have this. Now we need to get rid of the other orb, or get rid of the orb. So we're going to destroy effect, not all effect. We're going to pick a specific one. Last entity created, which is the last entity created by the event player or created at the global level. So yeah. That's what we want to do. Destroy the last orb. Now what I did as well, first, and also we need to set global variable A to 0, set global variable B to 0, so these will clear those out, so the next person, two things. We're clearing global variable B because just because we destroyed this orb, we're not tying the ult charge pickup to the orb. That's like a visual thing, so you know where to go. It's actually that position on the map, and so if we don't set global variable B to 0, then even though the orb's gone, you could just still walk over that position over and over and over again and pick up whatever that ult charge is. And that's why we're also setting A to 0. That way the ult, is 0 until a new, because I'm not sure what 0 denotes on position wise. All zeros, is that like your spawn room? I don't know where that position is on the map. So that's why we set the variable or the global variable A to 0 as well. That way, if for whatever reason someone does happen to walk over position 000 on the map, wherever that is, that they won't pick up any additional ult. We're adding 0 to their ult, so it doesn't matter. The other thing that I did was I added, so if we go under effects, there's a play effect button, or a play effect action, and we only want it to happen to event player, so the person that picks it up. And I added this good pickup effect, and we're going to make it yellow to match event player number radius. Okay, so what this looks like is when it's like a buff effect. There's like little sparkles that come out. You'll see it when we do it. But I also want to try, now that I saw it, we're going to create a sound, and then we're going to have to destroy it. So we're going to go to effect. Well, before we do that, let's come back. We're going to save. We're going to save it under ult drop. And then we're going to start it just to see if this works. We don't need anyone in the game, like I said before.
Now
just make sure you pick someone that can kill themselves quickly.
I will protect
Soldier
the
can't
innocent.
kill himself very fast. So, let's kill ourselves. Alright, so now we have our little orb, which I want to move up higher vertically. Anyway, something else I'd like to do is add gravity to it. Because I was noticing sometimes when you killed someone in the air, it stayed up there. It's like fair, if you kill her in the air, it might be hard to get her ult. So we got to get within 1 meter, and we're going to see it jump a little bit. Bam, to 11, and you saw it disappear. So we didn't get to see the sparkle effects. Maybe that's because I wasn't in a good position to see it. So if you look, our ult right now is at 15%. So we should add 15% to whatever our ult is. Let's see what that's going to be.
Back online.
Alright, so we're at 19. Bam, 34. And you kind of saw the sparkles. Not really. Let's make them a little bit bigger. So open workshop editor. We're going to come into here. We're going to play effect. Now with play effect, you don't have to destroy it. It will automatically disappear. And I think I set this to like, I don't know, 400. I don't know. We'll see. But let's also add another effect. We're going to add, and I haven't done this before, so it may not work the right way the first time. So current, no, event player, sorry, event player. And we want it to be an, let's see, energy sound maybe? Pickup sound, probably. Sparkle sound, beacon sound. Let's say pickup sound. Color, we'll just say yellow, doesn't really matter because it's the sound. Event player, position. Okay, so position has to be on event player, wherever event player is. Number, radius. Okay, so people online saying you got to make this kind of big. So let's just start off with 200 and hit OK. Now, if we leave this here, this sound will continue to play because we're creating it and we never destroy it, which is different than a play effect. Play effect plays, and then it, once it's, you know, the duration of that effect has gone, like the sparkles come up for like 1 second, and once the 1 second's up, it's gone. You don't have to destroy it. But with this one, we do have to. So we're going to hit an add, and we want to wait. I'm assuming this is in seconds, so we're going to wait 1 second. Not even a second. Let's just leave it at that 0.25. Ignore condition. Okay, so a quarter of a second, and then so now we have the wait, and then we want to destroy that effect. Destroy effect. Last created. Hit OK. All right. So now we have to go back to our lobby, restart the match. See if we have a sound. I don't know. I've never done it before.
Now arriving at Eos.
Alright, so
I will protect
come out
the
here.
innocent.
Kill ourselves. Boom! Alright. So now we have our dead body. See, I don't like how the orb's in the ground. That's why I want to raise it up a little bit, but I also want to give it gravity. So,
Back in action.
Let's look for the sparkles. Ah, and there was a little sound effect. It was like blip. I don't know if you guys heard it. It wasn't very loud, so let's make it more obvious. Open Workshop Editor. We want to come in here. So let's make this. The 400 for the sparkles was good because you could see it. Wasn't super distracting. Now we need to go back to the lobby. Restart match. See, we're both learning today. I didn't know.
Horizon Luna colony.
Escape out of that. Come into here. Let's go kill ourselves
I will protect
again.
the innocent.
Alright, one more. Bam! Alright, so we should have sparkles and a louder sound. So look for the sparkles. And listen for the
Back
sound.
into the fray.
It still wasn't very loud. And let's make it something crazy just to verify that's as loud as it's going to get. And maybe we need to... maybe we just need to change what the sound is. So at 400, pickup effect. Oh no, wrong one. Is that right? Create effect. No, that was right. So let's say 4,000. It's something ridiculous. And I just read online that the oh, we got to restart. That the radius is what affected how loud it was. I don't know if that's true. So restart match. Escape out of that.
I will
Kill ourselves in
protect the
here.
innocent.
Alright. So let's see.
My team needs me.
Nope, same loud. It's the volume is the same. So it doesn't matter what we set that radius to. Let's just change the sound. Maybe the sound will affect how loud it is. So we're going to create effect, pickup sound. Let's do energy sound, good aura sound. Let's try sparkle sound to match the sparkles. So, and let's actually change it to maybe, you know, 2/5 of a second. Let's just see if that works. So let's go to lobby, restart match, escape.
I will protect
Come
the
out
innocent.
here. Alright. Yeah. I've killed myself so many times this fair today, it's crazy. Alright. This one should
Raptorian
last a little
systems
bit longer.
online.
You know, it's just not very loud, and I don't know what the... Oops, wrong one. Coming to this one. Let's give it a full half second. 0.5. Okay. This didn't matter. We'll just change this back to 400. Sparkle sound. What did we do before? We did pickup sound. Maybe good aura sound, smoke sound, beacon sound, decal sound. So that's your spray, I'm assuming. Let's do energy sound. I don't know. Alright, this is the last one we're going to try. And then I will let you guys know what it is. So if you want to mess around with it, you can download the template.
I will protect the innocent.
Alrighty, let's go.
Back in action. Get back.
Oh, that's way better. Yeah, that's way better. It's loud. You can hear it. You got the sparkles. I'm excited. That worked. So, let's don't leave the game. I made that mistake. You want to go to the lobby. You want to go back to the lobby. We want to go back into settings and we want to save. So we're going to save over Alt Drop. Now, I haven't done this before, but I know from looking at other people's stuff that when you publish it or share code, you'll get this I don't know, it's a little code to give out to people. So I don't know if I need to put a description in here. When you die, you drop an orb that grants your ult charge to someone, or to whoever picks it up. Alright, I don't know if that makes a difference. Ult drop, save. So share, and I don't know what this is gonna do. So okay, there it is. So if any of you want to, and I should write this down too. But if any of you want to play that, I will show you how to do that. Well, I'll just come back to the video and look it up. 7SS8X. So let's just hit copy. So if you guys wanted to play my game and to you know, modify it, you just come into here, the same place. You'd hit import code, and then you would just paste that code into here. And when you do that, when you come into Workshop, it's going to be in here. So, because I don't believe it puts it. No, yeah. So it'll just be when you hit import, it automatically loads it. So you just click on Workshop, and it'll have those rules there. So I hope you guys learned as much as I did today, and I'm going to test this out a little later. Maybe get some other people playing, and probably come back to make some changes. But hope you guys enjoyed, and see you in the next video.